right, welcome. Hey, this is Genesee County Compassion Club Show. I'm your host, Jeremy. How's it going, everybody? Man, it's good to be back in the studio, back here at All Points TV. I got John, my man, behind the camera, making it happen. How's it going, John?
Real well. So for some reason your lighting's not perfect yet, so I'm not happy, but we'll go with that.
All right. Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate everything you do here, man. The studio looks awesome. Do I got my flowers going on behind me?
Oh yeah, you got the buds and
I can't see myself in here in the studio. So
it's a magic of green screen. Yeah.
I don't even know where I'm at right now. I don't know.
Also, I would like to extend, maybe, I don't know if you know, mention it, but if you got members out there who we're proud of their grow operation and want people to see it, but we don't have to reveal that. You can always say it's some members, back in the background, their grow. So that'd be kind of a cool idea, I think.
That is a good idea, John. Thank you. If you guys got a background you'd like to see here on the podcast, get it to us. We'll put it up. It'd be kind of cool. Maybe put me in space or maybe in your garden. That'd be sweet. Rock on. All right, man. How's it going down at the club, man? You guys are awesome. I know things are rocking down there. And I walked through the Holistic Center today on my way through. I do it on purpose just so I could smell the awesome food that's cooking over there, man. Things are rocking next door at the Growing Concern. And also at the club. I just stopped in there quick today, say hi, and see what's been happening, but it's just continuing to grow. I know we're over 14,000 members, and I know right now everybody's getting excited and ready for the 420 party. It's coming up. I wanted to mention that today. I want to remind you guys we're selling the bracelets. We got those ready for you. It's going to be awesome. We've got a pig roast planned with all the fixins, and we're also going to have the hot dog guy as well. So you guys will be going away stuffed and happy. We're going to have some serious contests this year. Looking forward to that. We got the twist off contest going on, which is going to be spectacular. Of course, we've got the best, we've got the fastest, the most creative, and then we're going to throw in some additional contests this year. I hear tell it might have something to do with like a bong, or maybe possibly something to do with a dab. So we'll have yet to see. I don't want to reveal too many secrets and lock anything down that we can't produce, but I know it's going to be awesome. I do want to tell you guys, bring your bongs on 420. Bring your bongs. We want to have as many bongs as we can have. So plan on bringing them. We're going to have some contests involving those bongs. So get ready to compete. And the party's going to be spectacular. We've also got planned a human trampoline, like bungee thing. I don't even know what to call it. I'm not sure what it is. But you get strapped into a harness with some bungees on a trampoline, and basically we're going to shoot you. So that's coming too. It's going to be awesome. Does that sound like something you want to try out, John?
No, yeah, it actually does. And also, I kind of be a little bit more prosaic here too, a little bit more down to earth. But during I saw publications going up on Facebook for before the Hash Bash, and the people are recommending too. And when they're traveling to the place, make sure your medicine is locked up. So I mean that's because if law enforcement knows probably that this is going on, you don't want them to be like so easy pickings for them. So
thank you, John. That's a good point. 420, obviously, law enforcement. This is not a underground thing anymore. It's well known. So you definitely want to make sure you're taking extra caution on that day, and that's why it's a good day to come down and hang out at the club. It's a good, safe place. You can medicate safely inside, indoors and private, and legally, so it's a good thing. But plan on coming down to the club on 420. Plan on having a lot of fun. And I was just
how much is it, by the way? I mean,
$20.
$20.
Yeah.
And that people who don't have medical marijuana card could also attend this.
You can attend the party. We got stuff going on outside. We're gonna have Todd the glass blower out there. Like I said, we're gonna have the trampoline thing going on, and we're gonna have some food as well, which you could also take part in. Of course, we'll have the Holistic Center rocking over there, and then the Educational Center as well. So there'll still be things going on there.
Where can they buy the tickets at? Right at this club, or
you can get them right at the club.
No, there's no email, or you can't.
No, we're not into the whole digital thing. It's we're like that personal one-on-one
I think it's a good
contact.
idea. I think you get more. You can actually hand them off. How many people are coming in.
This ain't Ticketmaster, man.
Now down the road, that might be a good option.
Screw them. What, are you crazy?
No, but do it your own self. You don't have to do Ticketmaster, but you just have a bit set up where you can actually buy it through your own website.
Oh yeah. Well, that would require us to be able to handle credit cards, and we're not on that kind of level. We don't play with banks.
Yeah, because it's still kind of an iffy area for banks and medical marijuana.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's an interesting thing, but I don't want to get off subject. I'll get on that a little bit later on. We'll talk about that. But you guys plan for 420. It's going to be just freaking awesome. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome this year. It is a Monday, and we're going to be open. We're going to be open at 10 a.m. We're rocking. We're going to have a caregiver shift or vendor spots available, and you guys are going to be able to come in, party, have a blast. There's going to be all kinds of surprises too. So make sure you're ready. Make sure you're telling your friends about it. It's going to be sweet. What am I forgetting here? Oh yeah, the Adopt a Highway. It's going to be April 18th. So 2 days before, which is, let me think here, it's a Saturday. We need you guys. We need your help. So tell your friends. We need all the help that we can get. We got 2 sections of highway that we do. One is M13 and the other one is Dort. So it's like 4 miles of highway. It's a lot of section. And the more people we can get, the faster it goes. The smaller sections we can break down. But this is the spring cleanup. And you know as well as I do that means there's a lot of trash on the roads. And so we need to do our good part. And hopefully, help out the community here, beautify our area, show that we care. And this is where we need your help. So please, you guys can sign up at the snack bar, sign up at the, that kind of weird sound there. Snack bar, sign up there. You can sign up at the security check-in, at the educational center. We need your help. It's going to be at 10 a.m. on April 18th.
Do you need some water, by the way?
Water?
Yeah, I got a bottle of water if you want some.
Oh, yeah. If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I got cotton mouth. Go figure. Something gave me cotton mouth. Let's see. So, yeah, Adopt a Highway. Don't forget about that. And also, after the 420 party will be our regular soup kitchen. So we got that coming up at the end of the month. Just make sure I do a quick mention of that as well. So get your tickets and mark down April 18th on your calendars for the Clean a Highway, Clean-a-thon. Oh, thank you, John. Oh, sweet. Some for me, some for the plants. Oh, much better. So how did everybody enjoy this last weekend? Did you guys get down there for Hash Bash? I heard it was a huge turnout. Talked to Jason, said it was just one word, crowded. But I guess that's a good thing. Hash Bash has been going on for like 44 years. It's one of those things that's like, it's true to Michigan. It's a straight up original. John Sinclair being the man behind the legend there, the one who started it, being jailed for a joint, a year for a joint. That's how it all got started. And that was a protest. And then it's grown into this awesome festival. I know that Chong was there, Tommy Chong, amongst other celebrities and so on. He had some officials there, like State Rep Jeff Irwin. I think also the mayor of Lansing, Verg Bernero, was there as well. So, definitely pulling out some big names, pulling out all the stops there, doing the speech on the Diag. And I heard that it was a huge turnout. It's just been growing every year. Last time I went was quite a while ago, unfortunately. And it was still small back then. I mean, it was still, kind of this like really intimate sort of scene. Maybe, 300 to 400 people, and now it's thousands. So, but I think that's cool. It just goes to show that this marijuana thing, even though it's always been big, it's just getting bigger. It's not going away. It's not going anywhere. And from what I heard, the police down there were really cool. I think there was like only 3 arrests made for, alleged distribution or whatever. But at any rate, from what I was told, sounded like a pretty low-key atmosphere. Everybody was pretty much able to medicate freely, no issues, no problems. And, at the same time, I didn't hear any complaints from the university or from the town of Ann Arbor. It sounds like, they left it in an orderly, clean fashion, and the crowd was, very well behaved and so on. And, you look at other things like that. You had a group of Ann Arbor students go up and tear up a ski resort earlier this year, some fraternity. And, you'd think like the pot guys are always getting the bad raps. And here they are. You had thousands of them, tens of thousands possibly.
That's weird. Years ago,
totally peaceful. Yeah.
Years ago, they used to have these hall shows down here, all ages shows down here at the Capitol Theater in the basement. The Fallout Shelter, and they used to have people who would come up for the punk shows. Used to have safety pins stuck to their cheeks.
Yeah.
I was going there for years. They had no problem. So they got this idea that they're going to make it more of a legit thing. So they moved upstairs to the lobby, and they had the lobby of the theater, and they had a bar set up there. And it was mostly for the preppy kids with the fraternity and sorority.
Yeah.
Fight after fight after fight. They had basically, and I was like, all the years, all the punkers and stuff showed up. Not one problem. I mean,
Right.
I would show up there, and I wasn't a punker. Nobody gave me any grief over it. But these everybody thinks these college kids who are in the fraternities are better quality people. That's a load of crap. Okay, I don't see that. It
A
is
thicker wallet, maybe.
well, they be because they stay. Their families, attorneys can keep them out of the press.
Yeah,
That's
but
basically what it is.
that may be. I just think that here it is. It's like you said. The stoner's always getting a bad rap, and I think that it's a dead stigma. It just needs to go away. It's not accurate. It's just totally. It's old. It's old news. So, anyways, awesome celebration down there. I mean, Hash Bash was a huge turnout, huge positive win, and it gets people talking. I mean, there's already been some bills introduced here in the state for full-on legalization. There's been bills introduced for decriminalization. There's bills that are being introduced for expanded programs of the medical thing that's going on here in the state. So you got a lot of different things being talked about, but it gets stirred up in the media. It gets people talking about it, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's something that needs to be addressed still here in Michigan, and you've got some sort of stalwarts that are just dragging down the process, really just slowing Michigan down from taking that next step, and really just being sort of a blockage to progress, if you will. People like Rick Jones in the Senate, people like our state attorney general, people like the administration in Oakland County, groups that have just been antagonists to the medical law that's been passed. A constitutional amendment that was passed by a huge majority here in the state. These groups have been, just like I said, a blockage to the progress that could be made here. And I think that the wave is sort of washing over them. You got people standing up like Verg Bonero, the mayor of Lansing, former gubernatorial candidate, coming down, not being afraid to speak out in public, in the front page, and talking about progressive policy towards a different type of program here in Michigan where it can benefit, not just the current population that's already benefiting from it, but a greater population. And in ways that, a lot of people say, well, it's going to do this and that. You have to look at the positives of this. Number one, the redirectment of law enforcement to more accurate, applications. And, in addition to that, you can have less expense on the criminality side of it when you're dealing with people that are being incarcerated for it. Going through the court systems for it. You can eliminate all of that. And then on the positive side, look at the business aspects. And, to bring up an example right now, just reading at the grocery store, a company that has been well known in the cannabis growing industry for quite some time, General Hydroponics. These guys have been out in California for quite some time now, building their company, and they were recently just bought out by Scott's Lawn Service, Lawn Care. You've heard of Scott's. They're the guys that get carried at Home Depot, Walmart, so on and so forth. Yeah, they just bought out General Hydroponics out there in California. So I don't know if that's you're going to want to use their product anymore or not. But at any rate, it just goes to show that this industry, not just the marijuana, but the whole entire industry around it, it's big, and it's something that can really positively impact this state right here, right now. And I think a lot of people are wanting to stand up and grab a hold of that opportunity. It's one that needs to be available to everybody on every level. And, the other person that I mentioned, Jeff Irwin, our state representative, he was talking about these things and talking about the positive impact that this could make in addition to the tax collection that's already being made out in Colorado. You look at the, $11 million in a month that they generated. Yeah, I think we could benefit from that here in this state. So kudos to Hash Bash. Glad you guys are able to check it out, have fun. And I think it's good that it gets talked about, or that it was talked about in a positive manner here in the papers.
On Facebook, there's a lot of traffic talking about that, a lot of postings, and
oh yeah.
And I was like, more than I've seen before. I mean, I've been aware of this for several years, and I've been working with you guys for about 6 years now, doing shows. You've been doing a show here, and I just never seen. It seems like for some reason it's really in the press.
It's mainstream now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's gone from the back street to Main Street, and people are more open about it. I've talked to people and friends that were from back in my past. They're very conservative, type of individuals that would never be around anything that would be like considered an intoxicant, let alone something that's illegal like marijuana. And their attitude, their conversation, their tone has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. So, I mean, to see that and to see where we were and where we are today, this is something that is, like I said, it's not going away. It's going to definitely happen. And I think that, Stuff like hash bash, stuff like a mayor getting up or a state rep getting up and saying, "Hey, we need to get this changed.
Well, see, a true
This is
conservative,
ridiculous."
it's a true conservative, in my opinion. What they're conserving is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And if they continuously just do allow that to slip away from us because of fighting this war on drugs, that, well, if you just give us more power, we can be able to do this. A true conservative would have to say, time out. We give you ability to do warrantless searches, wiretaps without warrants. You do all these assets seizure and forfeiture without any due process being done. We've already looked the other way, handed you over all this power, and it's still not enough for you. I think we got to really examine this. And that's what true conservative, I thought, should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think. You would think. But yeah, actually, speaking of true conservatives, we mentioned the bill here that was introduced, a federal bill, a couple weeks ago. Last time we had a podcast, this was a bill that was introduced on Capitol Hill by a conservative, guy who just stepped up and said he wants to run for president, Rand Paul. He was one of the people that sponsored this bill, and I think they're calling it the Careers Act. It's CARER. Just drop an E out of career. It's kind of cool how they put that together. But anyways, yeah, they put this bill together. It's for compassionate use, allows medicinal use, it reschedules cannabis from a 1 to a 2, so it's allowing for research. It allows for states to be able to be respected when they have their own programs going on. It allows for banking, so on and so forth. So it's quite the comprehensive package. And yeah, some conservatives are stepping up and starting to promote this kind of thing. But we have conservatives in our state, like Senator Rick Jones, who are, just bullheaded. He's talking about people having psychotic effects from cannabis. I mean, good grief. Could you pull it a more stringent, type of aspect and try to, just the guys from the Stone Ages, we need to move forward on this. We need to take a realistic adult look at this and come on, let's move ahead. Some conservatives are with the game. Some are still way out there. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. We went to Hash Bash. You guys had a good time. That's awesome. But while you were all partying down there, the rest of the world was still going on. I was just checking out the most recent ASA newsletter. This is Americans for Safe Access. And pretty good group, if you ask me. Definitely worthwhile taking a look at if you want to try to support something. But these guys, anyways, are a part of that bill I was just talking about, the Careers Act. They're one of the big groups that are trying to get this pushed through. They just also had a big, huge rally in D.C. And it looks like they had advocates, patients, speakers, 40 different states being represented here. Pretty big lobby day that they put together as well as a part of the conference. They talked about, let's see here, legalization, product safety, discrimination. Wait a minute. Discrimination. That's kind of interesting. Emerging science, all kinds of stuff. They had distinguished researcher Dr. Ethan Russo giving a keynote address, and also Alice O'Leary Randall, widow of the pioneering medical cannabis patient Robert Randall, was in attendance as well as a special guest, and Pennsylvania State Senator Mike Fulmer, a special guest. So pretty big range there. They had Melissa Etheridge doing a song for them, and the conference was a hit. So pretty cool stuff. But I thought it was kind of interesting. They had all these people get together, do the conference, get each other educated, and then they turned back around on Capitol Hill and did a lobbying day. So kind of cool. Also, let's see here what was going on. There was an International Medical Cannabis Patient Coalition formed. This is kind of cool, or interesting at least. This was cannabis patients from 13 countries established the International Medical Cannabis Patient Coalition last month at a conference in Prague, however you say it. Countries include Bulgaria, Canada, Czech Republic, Estonia, France, Israel, Italy, Latvia, Poland, Slovenia, Spain, United Kingdom, and the U.S. And are represented by the ASA's executive director. Excuse me. But what they did, the first action that this council put together, was a declaration urging that the 2016 UN General Assembly Special Session on Drugs reclassify cannabis for medical use and convene a UN Special Convention on Cannabis. So this is an important step. You have to understand how policies work. one of the big things holding back this progression here in the United States is not just our own federal drug classification, but it is also an agreement that we've entered into with the UN. So as a country, we've entered into this treaty or union with the UN stating that we would not allow cannabis to be legally sold or used. It's basically just like we have here in the States. It's for all the other countries that participate in the UN. We've agreed to that, and so it also binds us legally in some way, shape, or form to that. Now, of course, you could say, well, the United States is a sovereign country. You can go do what it wants outside of any UN treaty. We've certainly done that in the past. But this here is something that it is a stumbling block that needs to be removed. And so this assembly here and this council that has been formed, or coalition, if you will, putting this together and urging the UN to take a look at this and say, hey, this needs to be done as well. So this is something that has been petitioned by smaller groups in the past, the UN, being addressed and so on. But the UN's never stepped up and done anything about it, and hopefully they'll continue to receive pressure from outside groups like this that will force them to bring that issue to the talking table and hopefully come up with a new solution for that. And I think that once that's done, then you can see a big progression. If the United States hasn't already taken that step, then they certainly will feel free to be able to do so after that has been addressed on the international level. So hopefully, I would think the U.S. would have enough guts or balls, whatever you want to say. Go ahead. You don't need to wait for the UN to do anything. We don't do that, certainly, for when it comes to military stuff. Why do we need to do it when it comes to drug policy? I don't know. But, at any rate, there's some folks out there that would say to the contrary, no, we can't do it because the UN will step up and it'll be a big problem, but whatever. You saw Uruguay do it last year. They legalized cannabis straight across the board, and they're part of the UN. They didn't care. They had the guts to do it. Little tiny Uruguay. They don't have any money. Got a little tiny old president, super nice old guy. He didn't give a shit. He's like, hey,
that's
the right thing to do. That's what I'm going to do.
That's what you just struck up on, though. We have a lot of money. They could find a way of penalizing us, but they're going to try to demand more money. The UN, to me, is a useless organization.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, John. And they're simply just another puppet of the hand. But at any rate, it is something out there that, is something that is, it's a standard, if you will, that it's been put out there. It's something that certainly the hands that be use it. And when the puppets speak, things happen. So it is something that we have to look at, even if we don't agree that it should exist or not.
If we just stopped the funding of it, it would probably just dry up because we're like 100 some nations belong to it, and we pay the bulk of it, like 75% of the operating budget's out of the United States pocket. And so it's like we always make a big deal about it, but we could just shut off the funding to it. And
oh, absolutely.
It'd dry up.
But then we'd lose out on all those different places that we get to control in the name of the UN.
Yeah, so it's like basically the UN, but it's problematic on some issues we don't agree with.
It's kind of like the left hand should tell the right hand that that's what we need to do. So is that what you're saying, John?
Basically, yeah, but
Okay.
It's like we should just got to look at it and mock it. As much as possible because it's a pretty useless organization. It's the only thing I can recall is when it removed the temples from Egypt, where they're putting the dam, and they helped. That was behind that was to help them remove them and put them at a higher ground so that they wouldn't be flooded out. Was it Antoine Dam or whatever years and years ago. But that's about the only thing I actually saw that was a positive thing of the UN's 60 some year existence.
All right. Well, I won't get into that with you. But speaking of international stuff, John, it's kind of cool. This is something actually we predicted on the show that was going to happen, and this is an article that's in Time magazine. You can check it out. And it's happened. So we predicted it. Now it's actually happened. Do we have a crystal ball back here in the studio that we didn't know about, John?
No. I think we trade that in during a pledge drive, but no, we don't have one.
All right. Well, anyways, crystal ball was right. This is an article in Time magazine talking about the Mexican drug cartels being hit because of the fact that cannabis is legal. It's cutting into their trade. Obviously they're still pushing their harder drugs. But the bottom line is that they're being affected. When you talk about having a market that previously they're the only ones that could cater to it, and now all of a sudden everybody can just go get it on the street corner legally, it's putting them out of business. It's a no-brainer. This is kind of interesting. It says here, Mexico's Army noted a steep decline, confiscating 664 tons of cannabis in 2014. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, it was a 32% drop compared to the year before. So 1/3. I mean, if you went to these guys a year before and said, hey, if I can eliminate 1/3 of the amount of drug paraphernalia or whatever drug product that is going to be coming through your borders, would you like to hear my plan? I mean, I'm sure the Mexican police would have liked to have heard the plan. Well, at any rate, they were the benefactor of this, and it seems here the Border Patrol, U.S. Border Patrol, has also been affected, seizing steadily smaller quantities of the drug from 2.5 million pounds in 2011 down to 1.9 million pounds in 2014. So 0.6, that's a big swing as well. Certainly having an impact. It says here the fall has little to do with law enforcement and all to do with the wave of the U.S. marijuana legalization. So has nothing. There's not any decreased forces out there. In fact, forces have been increased. So technically, you'd think they would be seizing more of the drug, and that's actually not happening. It's the contrary. The amount of seizures are still going down, and that's simply because there's less product being put through. And again, I'm not talking about your harder drugs. I'm talking simply here about cannabis. And the fact is that prohibition just does not work. It exacerbates the problem, and it creates the black market. So that's something that we have to also consider when we're talking about the positives of a progressive type of policy. And that was something that Representative Irwin's harping on in the paper, and I thought it was cool that he was talking about that because it is something that has to be looked at, and it is obviously a fact. It's going to happen when you take out that black market. Kind of cool. All right, let me back up here a little bit. One more story I want to share with you. This is from the Boston Globe. Interesting, out in Boston. Massachusetts has got a heck of a medical marijuana program, but it looks like they're going to streamline it, make it a little bit better for patients. It says that currently they call their program confusing, a little bit lengthy of a process, and delaying folks from getting proper access. It says here the new system, marijuana dispensaries will be licensed in a format similar to other healthcare facilities such as pharmacies. The process will be launched May 15th and will establish high safety standards, particularly those regarding security and background checks, two issues that have previously plagued the program. It says here the agency is preparing new guidelines to review current requirement that marijuana companies be nonprofit organizations. Company leaders and some investors have said that the requirement has hampered the licensing process and scared away potential investors, leaving some companies short of cash. Well, at any rate, looks like they're going to get their act together and start doing some decent job of licensing these centers instead of just having them go through this long, drawn-out process and then sort of how do you get selected? At any rate, it says here, starting Wednesday, the agency will post updated information on the website about the status of each of the 15 applicants granted licenses for dispensaries, in addition to the information about the numbers of patients certified by their physicians and registered with the state. So, still a limited amount. I mean, Massachusetts is pretty small, but even so, I mean, if you're going to have only 15 dispensaries in an entire state, that's a pretty small amount. I think about if you only had 15 McDonald's, you know what I mean? You'd be like, what?
You see a lot less paper on the ground. No.
Yeah, you'd see a lot less trash in your streets. But no, seriously, I mean, I don't like these types of licensing processes when it's done on a state level and just capping it off. To me, that makes no sense. I mean, you need to be able to have that broken down to a township or city level so that local municipality can decide what's right for them, whether it be 0 or whether it be 40. I mean, whatever the number is, obviously it's going to be, applicable to that area and to the citizens that are in that area. And I really am, let's say, negative towards it, to say the very least, when I see these types of caps put on at state levels. To me, that is just sort of a monopoly. And, you can only imagine if you can only accept 15 different application licenses, there's got to be some back patting here going on to figure out which 15 are going to get it. Because I'm sure they're going to get hundreds of applications.
This is
even despite the fact that they're saying, well, it has to be nonprofit. That makes no difference. You know what I mean?
It's just amusing to me because I'm sitting back and they're acting like this marijuana is like such a potentially dangerous thing that they got to keep it doled out with an eyedropper or with like minute amounts of it. And my personal experience, been around all my life, seeing people do it. I just don't see that as being the case. Yet they still persist in acting like this is something so unique that they gotta control it that minutely. I mean that critically. I mean,
Yeah.
it's bizarre thinking to me anymore. I mean, I just don't understand it.
And especially, like in Massachusetts where they have a decrim bill as well. They don't have legalization in Massachusetts. It has been discussed, of course, but they do have a decrim bill. So anything under an ounce is basically like a civil violation, like a parking ticket. So you have decrim already. You've got a medical marijuana program in place. And then now you've got, and they have a caregiver system out there too. They also are now having, licensed dispensaries in addition to that. So it's definitely expanding. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's very limited, monopolized look, and it makes really, I just think, John, it's all about the monopoly. It really has nothing to do with trying to control the product, put safeguards on it in the name of trying to keep it out of the wrong hands, blah blah blah. We're talking about something here that is relatively benign. It's non-lethal, and again, why do we need to have such crazy restrictions on this when in the background of this you have the legalization picture going on? And is it going to still be a restricted product when it's legal? Well, sure, of course, but obviously not to the degree to where we're going to go out and say, how many exactly of these can exist.
Well, what I was just thinking, if people don't understand this, so they put in perspective, back in the day of Prohibition, the person who was instrumental, for one of the people who helped instrumental actually repealing it, was Joseph Kennedy Sr. Because basically he acquired a lot of the distilleries and stuff in Canada. And so he wanted to push for his booze to be basically the first legal booze in the United States.
Sure.
Everybody else is prohibited. So basically, you just maybe hold out hope, and maybe one of the Kennedys see the cash potential in this and get behind it. Because that's what's going to motivate. They probably have.
One of the
they probably
15.
have. Yeah, they're
probably one of the and that's what I don't like. I mean, I think it needs to be opened up. You could say like, well, here in the state you have liquor licenses, and the state controls how many of those are issued. So on. I agree. I understand what you're saying. I don't think they should do that. I don't like that either. I think that the local municipalities should be able to decide what's right for their community. If they want to have no bars, tons of bars or whatever, let the township decide for themselves or the city decide for themselves what's right. And if the state still wants to collect a fee for that license, fine. I don't care about that. But I don't think that this state governed monopolized type of system, I don't like it. I don't think it needs to have any type of purpose. I don't think the state's sitting there telling them how many Walmarts they can have.
It's just basically the perception I think people have is if it's state run, the state has monopoly on it. It's going to make it less harmful, or it's going to make it more. Yeah. It's got. I don't
keep it out of the wrong hands if the state licenses
yes,
it.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. It runs contrary to what you see evident every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing is that right now it's premature to get into those types of standard settings because, again, if we're going to get into saying, all right, well, these places have the ability to operate, well, then that has to be based on a set of standards of what's agreeable and what's acceptable for, how it operates to, the products that are in there and labeling and then how they're produced, how they're sold, how they're packaged, so on and so forth. And these types of things right now are still being developed within the industry itself. So for the state to step up and say, well, this is what we want to have, well, that's premature because we don't even know yet exactly how those things should be licensed or regulated. If we look at the current models that are out there out west, like in Colorado, they said, all right, well, at least we need to regulate the labeling of these so that the consumer can tell what is in there, how much is there, how has it been procured, so on and so forth. And I think that, to me, makes sense. As a consumer, at least you can tell what you're getting. And I don't think that the consumer needs to be pushed around or limited otherwise. I think that they can make those choices for themselves. You go to the store, you pick out which pop you want. Do you want the diet one or do you want the whatever? I mean, you get the picture. I think the consumers need to be allowed to make choices, and the townships should be able to make choices, or cities as well, with what's right for them. I'm just not a big fan of big government in any way, shape, or form. I don't know why. Call me crazy.
Some counties down south are totally dry. Some of the places where they create, produce, the best whiskeys and bourbons in the south are dry counties.
Yeah.
So, and they've done this for years.
And if the folks there wanted to change it, they can.
Right. So, I agree with you on that. That's a good, but I'm just using that as comparison. That's been all around for years. That's coexisted with all the regulations.
I think we even have some select towns in Michigan that are dry as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if there, I mean, would you like to see it, or you think there is some?
No, I think there are some. I'm
I
saying
can't
that-
recall any though. But
I believe there are a few. On my trips out in the BFE countries and so on, I actually have found one town. It was out in the Thumb area, and they did not have any alcohol anywhere. So,
I mean, is that what this country was founded upon? The idea of states' rights and people having more of a say in their local municipalities and their own burbs, whatever. It's like it's in this overarching prohibition. It's never been effective. It's caused more corruption. J. Edgar Hoover didn't want anything to do with the drug law enforcement because he knew it was going to be a corrupting influence on his agents.
Yeah.
The potential was there.
and that's it. It not only creates that type of many different types of issues, but it creates that issue right there. It creates that black market that we're talking about, the big gap, because you're still going to have the consumer that's not going to go away. They're still going to pursue it. And, like you said, the country, our country, has been founded on freedom, the ability to be able to choose. And I think that anytime we start to limit that on a big level, you're limiting that. Look at the words that we're talking about here. Good grief. So, all right, that's my rant for the day. I'll move on. But at any rate, some good stuff, man. I mean, you get the ASA. I mean, they're kicking ass out there in D.C., doing some good stuff. Things happening on an international level. Things happening here on a state level. Man, it's just a good time. It's beautiful out there. It's spring, so people are starting to actually get out, get the car wash, get the yard cleaned up. I know we're going to be getting those garden plots ready here pretty soon. We'll be talking about that upcoming here on the show. And you guys are going to probably be putting in some outdoor gardens this year. Be looking forward to that. And I know everybody's been enjoying the warmer weather. It's just been a blessing, and this time of year is just awesome. It's great. So, I mean, John, you've been loving it. You've been walking around, getting around town.
Yeah, it's nice, but I like to see it warm up a little bit quicker. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I'm still wearing 2 jackets because I don't know if I'm going to have one
We
later.
need 2 in the morning and then only 1 in the afternoon.
Right. Somebody posted on Facebook a picture of like snow-covered pine trees, and then the next shot was looked pretty nice and normal spring day. And it was a picture of one city in the same day.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt
here
it.
in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah,
Michigan, so.
actually, Friday morning woke up to about a half-inch of snow just completely covering the ground. Or was it, it was Easter. Easter morning, half-inch of snow covering the ground at my place. And then by 11 o'clock, it was completely gone, dried off.
Yeah, because you're from Michigan when you have recollections of your childhood having Easter egg hunts outside in your park.
In the snow.
Yeah, in the snow.
In the snow. Yep. That's our beautiful state for you. Well, it's been good to be back here on the podcast. Definitely glad to be sharing stuff with you. I'm super excited about the April 20th, the 420 party. It's going to be an absolute blast. Make sure you guys are ready for that. Bring your bongs. Don't forget, we're going to have an awesome contest. Man, John, thanks for being back in the studio with me. Glad to be back in the garden. It's awesome. You guys have an awesome week. We'll see you here next time on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. Thanks a lot. See you.